Welcome back to the Relentless Transitions podcast, everyone. We talk about life, business, and triumph. Every week, I'm joined by my lovely co host, Teresa. Hi, Teresa. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. How about yourself?
I'm doing just wonderful. We've been talking so much on our podcasts lately about how to deal with negativity and about gratitude. So, we've done a few podcasts on self care, a few podcasts on these other topics. So, today I thought we could kind of follow up in that genre and ask you, what is your winning formula for happiness, Teresa?
Ooh, you know what? That is a very, very good question. Well, I can tell you that it has come with practice. So it wasn't always that way. But I think my winning formula for happiness simply involves surrounding myself by good people and other things that actually make me happy, such as, I think I've mentioned it before, like I'm sensitive to smells and sounds. So I try to have, that music, and I try to have candles around me all of the time. And then, the last thing I would say was just putting forth effort to actually take care of myself.
Yeah, yeah. So, are there any things you've done recently that have brought that smile to your face? Just a little tip for us.
Well, okay. Well, some tips that I have. Well, one thing I would say, and I know this is going to be something maybe that people haven't thought about, but change the ringtone on your phone. That seems, it don't, it doesn't have to be that ringtone that came with the phone. That's the first thing. But change the ringtone on your phone. Change it to something that, really makes you happy. And the reason why I say that and that is important for me is because, I've been in positions where there was just such high demand and that my phone was just ringing all of the time, that when I separated myself from some of those positions, every time I would hear that ringtone, it just seemed like I had some type of internal, reaction to it. And I thought about that and I was like, you know what? Guess what? This phone does not have to ring this way. And there are some, especially if you have the standardized ringtone that comes with phones, there might be many people around you that have that same tone. So you can't fix theirs, but you can go into yours. And I just started listening to the other ringtones that were in my phone, and I, just changed my tone. So now every time my phone rings, I actually kind of chuckle, or it doesn't elicit definitely not a negative reaction. And even other people around me, they'll say, wow, that's a cool, ringtone. Also, just
Right.
digging deeper into that ringtone, the people who are like super special to me, I put those people into a group. I didn't give them individual ringtones, but I put them into a group. And then I gave everyone in that group a ringtone. So that kind of helps me to separate them from just any call, that I might be getting. So I know, hey, I probably really want to talk to them. And then the last thing that I did in my phone was I went through all of my contacts. So, sometimes there are people that maybe we've moved on from, and they are no longer really an integral part of our lives, or maybe there was a negative experience and you needed to separate from them, but we're still carrying them around with us, like that, just in case. No, we should let them go in our phones. So I actually went through and deleted, people from my contacts that didn't need to be there. And then some new people that really did need to be there. Then I made sure that I saved their numbers with their names. Because for me, again, I'm, even though I might not be working for someone else where there's high demand, but in my own business, there's high demand. So it helps me to be mentally prepared to answer the phone, um, when I answer it, because I know who it is that I'm getting ready to speak to. So that really, those little subtle things, we don't realize how little things can cause stress.
So I hope I'm one of those happy ringtones, Teresa, that you've created.
You're on the
um,
ringtone, the email,
yeah,
everything.
I'm hoping it's one of the happiest songs you hear when you hear them. Teresa, let's just take a second to think about exactly what is happiness and what it means to be happy and what it means to you to be happy.
Well, what happiness means to me is just having like a level of satisfaction and contentment, with my life, or with, my current situation. And, just being able to live my life really as I would like to live. I think sometimes that there is a lot of dissatisfaction in life because we're not really pursuing like our goals and our ambitions. I think that that makes that makes for sadness, and it also can cause later in life regret,
Yeah.
when you don't, go for it. And I understand not going for it because there's fear, but there's fear like in all of us, And I think if you just kind of take those small steps. And so for me, I haven't achieved my ultimate goals, but as I think I have mentioned in a previous podcast, that I'm very ambitious. So for me to just do nothing and like let my ambitions go, that would really be sadness for me. So just taking little small steps. But basically, that's what happiness means to me, is just like a level of satisfaction with your life, satisfaction and contentment, and being able to live your life as you would like to.
So a few things occurred to me as you were saying that, and I'm going to deal with them in two separate sections here. But one thing that came up for me was that if getting doing pursuing things that make you happy and satisfy you. So if you're in a job that is not your dream job, but you can't afford to quit it because you need the income. I think pursuing it's not always just a pursuing about the job that you of your dreams, but it's taking that job is creating a lot of negativity in your life. So find other things in your life that you can pursue. So if you've always wanted to dabble in art, go to the dollar store and pick up some cheap paints and a cheap canvas and start dabbling in art. So what do you think of for somebody like that who's unable because of financial circumstances to pursue their actual dream job? What can they be doing to make sure they're bringing some sort of level of satisfaction to their pursuits in life?
I actually think that's an awesome question. And I think that that is more commonly happening,
Mhm.
really, in most of us. I think that it starts with your perspective. There was one of my friend's grandmother, she had this statement, and she said that you can choose to be happy, that happiness is actually a choice. And I actually, look, I have a little thing on my desk that says choose happy. So first, what I would say is start with looking at your current circumstance, like the current job, and change your perspective on the job. So instead of looking at it as, oh my goodness, I hate this job, I don't want to go to this job today, and thinking about all of the negative things about the job, whether it's either the actual job or people on the job, actually change your perspective and understand that this job is a stepping stone,
Mhm.
that I don't have to be here forever, but this is how I support myself and my family today, and it is providing for that. And so I'm grateful and thankful that I have that, because guess what, there's plenty of people who probably wish that they had that job,
Yeah.
that you don't like, people who are sitting at home who are unemployed and trying to figure out, other things, then they might wish that they had that job. But so for yourself, I would say change your perspective about the job. And then the other thing I would say, think about what is it that you really want to do. So this has to do with planning. I'm a big planner, right? So I'm very big into, well, what are your goals? What is it that you really want to do? And then, excuse me, and then thinking about what will it take to actually get there. I think that that's the part that we miss, that little middle part. Sometimes, when I'm working with people and I find that they're frustrated or depressed or anxious, it's really because they have a goal, but they don't have any plans on how they're going to get there.
Yeah.
That is frustrating.
Yeah.
And I think that that steals joy. So if you think about like that goal and it's really something you want to go for, and you can put a plan in place, something simple, and then start with the baby step. So then when you're going to work and you know that when you're done with work, you're going to be working on your next thing, that actually can produce some excitement.
Yeah. 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 I'm so glad that you mentioned changing perspective and being grateful, because I do think in every situation, no matter how um, horrible it may seem to you, you can choose to be happy and choose to look at it from a positive, optimistic, grateful point of view. And we talked about this a little bit in our podcast we did on gratefulness. Is it does change your perspective. It does change everything about the way you can look at a situation if you can look to the good in the situation. So be grateful that you have a job, like you said, or be
Yeah,
grateful that
yeah, and sometimes we just, I was speaking with some teenagers last week, and they were saying that in their teenage world, all that they can see is right now.
yeah,
Like, so when their parents are talking to them about, the future and this will happen, and if you just keep, they don't have like a sense of comprehension for
yeah,
that really to
yeah,
them right now is absolutely everything. But as we become adults and stuff, we know that that's not true. And I think sometimes though we carry that childlike ideology into things,
yeah,
and it's like if I do something, it's forever. No, it's not. So just because you're at that job today, if you don't like it, hey, change it.
yeah,
But there's a process, to
yeah,
changing it. But I think putting things in motion
yeah.
for yourself, that will create excitement and your sense of joy. And another thing, look, don't go to work telling those people, I'm quitting this job. I don't like it, and I'm quitting and I'm working on my plan B, because no employer, listen, no employer wants to hear about your plan B. They want to believe that you're going to be there with them like forever,
Yeah.
even if it's not true.
And I think for me, if I was in that situation where I was in a job that I was finding unsatisfying, but I had no choice at this point, I think I really would spend time outside of the job pursuing things that do make me happy
Hmm.
and that can give me baby steps towards finding something more satisfying. So, volunteering is a great way to do that,
Hmm.
and or if you, like I said, if you want to learn to paint, figure out, go to YouTube, watch YouTube channel, and it doesn't have to be expensive. Hit the dollar store, pick up some cheap supplies, watch a couple of YouTube things about painting and start painting.
Hmm.
Anything like that that brings a little bit of joy and happiness into your life will make the job seem less onerous. Uh,
And I would definitely recommend that for, say, a person who, um, is trying to become, like here in the US, vested, in the job. So they know that they're not going to be there forever, but they have to work there a
yeah,
certain amount of time in order to become vested.
yeah,
So you're staying and you're not leaving. Or a person who's close to their retirement and
yeah,
they only have, a few more days, weeks, months, a couple of years left. And so they, aspiring to something different as far as a job is not something that they aspire to. And they know that they are staying there. So absolutely finding some other things that find you joy, even things such as, you guys have been seeing my dogs, in the background. I call them my office assistants, but I've had dogs like all my life. And so to not have one really sometimes can cause me stress. So what I have a puppy,
Yeah.
so I keep them around.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the other things that occurred to me when you were speaking earlier was the idea of self-regard and how you think of yourself and how that can help boost your happiness levels. If so what do you think about that, Teresa?
Well, that goes along with self affirmation,
Yeah,
which, that also is a practice and something that, sometimes requires development if that isn't something that you've been doing, because it's easy for us to heap praise onto other people, but, accepting praise or even saying or thinking something good about ourselves, sometimes that's difficult. But yes, definitely having confidence or being able to affirm yourself, knowing, if your supervisor is not thinking that you're doing all that you can, but you know that you are, and that you're doing a good job, and that you're a good and honest person, and just knowing those things about yourself, that can definitely boost your happiness.
yeah, yeah, because if you're happy with yourself, that's really an incredible place to be starting your day from, if you're happy with yourself. And
Absolutely. When I was working in the hospital as a nurse, I didn't get fired, but I used to always think, if I got fired and someone told me that I was not a good nurse, it really wouldn't matter because I know I'm a good nurse.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I
yeah,
know that I
exactly.
take good care of my patients. So when they hired me, I was a good nurse. And guess what? On my last day, I'm still a good nurse.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
That it
yeah,
doesn't, my identity is not tied up in the job
yeah,
or
yeah,
in, this project that I'm working on, or with this group that I happen to be with. That my identity is what I say it is.
yeah, yeah. And part of that is setting boundaries, right? And having firm boundaries can add to your happiness.
You
Talk
are
about that a
preaching
little
to
bit.
the choir, honey. Because I have a saying that there are some people who we allow to occupy the front seat of our lives, and they really need to be up in the balcony. So we have them right here, front and center, but they need to be way over there. So definitely, you have to set boundaries on, really, I think everything. And I think, what, if you set boundaries for yourself, and if you operate within those boundaries, like if you take care of yourself a certain way, if you present yourself a certain way, you actually teach the world how to treat you.
Mm, yeah,
So if you operate a certain way, if you speak to people a certain way, you carry yourself a certain way, there are some people that just aren't going to approach you with some things because they just know that, it's probably not you're probably not the right person for that. And then call people on it. If somebody is either treating you or speaking to you in some way that you don't like, let them know that.
yeah, yeah. That's very good. And it's all about that inner peace with who you are.
Hmm.
And that just will contribute to your happiness. There's no two ways about it, is that if you are happy with yourself, you will feel happy. And now, Teresa, what about people who just really, really are struggling with some deep-seated anxiety, depression, and unhappiness? What do you think? These are all great tips, all great things that we think you need to grow in order to grow your happiness, let's face it, it's not going to work for everybody. They need more help than listening to this podcast, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um
I think that, some things have to be a daily practice. But when you've tried all that you can try, or if you just know from the very beginning that, look, I don't even have the strength to even begin to try, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with seeking out additional help or therapy. Now, when I say additional help, I'm not talking about Rosalind and I crack one another. I'm not just talking about just any old person, that you're gonna dial up from the phone,
yeah.
because guess what? They have issues too. I wrote my first book was Financially Fit. So I called several of my girlfriends and asked them about tips for getting out of debt. And we all just died laughing because they were like, girl, you need to tell us, so they were facing their own challenges. So there might be people around you that you look up to, but trust me, again, all of us face challenges. And but we all wear a mask. I will say that we all wear a mask to some degree. So what you see is really not everything that is going on. So there's nothing wrong with seeking therapy. For a long time in some communities, that was considered to be something that was very taboo, or not something that you did. Or if you went to therapy, it meant that you were just crazy. Or, back when I was growing up, if you thought about therapy, it was like you thought about people in a padded room at some hospital wearing a straight jacket.
Yeah.
I don't know where that even came from, but that was what we used to think about. And the hospital was actually out of town. It wasn't even in town. So, it was really, it was major if you started talking about that. But, there's plenty of help out there. And even now there are some online therapy options. But, we don't claim to be like experts on that, but definitely reaching out to get help, and going to therapy to make sure that you take care of you and get yourself into a good space.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's not absolutely nothing wrong with admitting that you need help to grow your level of
Hmm. So
self.
these things can work together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Teresa, before we get to our takeaway, I thought maybe you could give us some sort of quick tips about things that you can try to that you use and that other people can maybe try, that make you smile, that make you happy.
Okay, so I'll give you mine. I'm all about my little self-care and and things like that. So think about the things that become self-aware. Really just take a moment to get quiet and still and think about the things that actually bring you joy. Really the things that bring you joy. Like I said, I love dogs. I always have loved dogs. Even having a dog, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be happy if you're so busy you're running around and you're ignoring them, right? So I actually set aside time to play with them. That actually brings me joy, even if I'm just rubbing on them and
Yeah.
looking at them and having these long conversations where they're just looking at me in my eyes, and I'm sure they're thinking, what is she talking about? But they're really paying me attention, paying attention. uh, that brings me joy. I told you about changing the ringtone, but how about, I love to have a nice clean bed. So investing in, some nice sheets or whatever the best it is that you can have, but having it all nice and clean. And like I even like to use the linen spray. That actually brings me some sense of happiness. Drinking water, believe it or not, drinking water and kind of taking some of the other things out of your diet, we really, I mean, a lot of sugar and caffeine and things like that, there are scientific studies about their impact on the brain. So really the detoxification abilities of water, it really helps to produce clarity. So, and if you need to add, whether it be fruit or something to your water, to kind of get a little bit of that taste in there, then that's fine. But drinking more water, exercise, and exercise doesn't, I don't mean that you have to prepare for a marathon or go to the gym every day and work out 2 hours a day, but find what is going to work for you. Sometimes just going for a walk. I really have embraced walking, through the park. Um, and it's some of the trails that, and just being out amongst the trees, that's like really, really beautiful to me, first thing in the morning. But find your time and, go for a walk, but or add some type of movement.
Yeah.
Just moving actually can actually give you some type of clarity. Writing in a journal, I think we talked about that. So just kind of emptying out your thoughts into a journal, that can really be bring me happiness. We talked about setting, opening up the window and letting some fresh air in, whether you're at home or now I've started doing it when I'm in the car. I'm not in the car so much anymore since the pandemic, but when I'm in there, I will roll the window down and let like some sun, let the fresh air come in, because especially now, Rosalind, we're working from home, doing business from home, you're inside, most of the time, and so you're not getting like that fresh air, or any type of engagement, even though it's not with a person, but you're not getting that interaction with the outside world. And so it's almost like you're in a bubble. So when I do get out, I do try to like just open up the windows, but I'll do it here in the house as well. It's so funny that we rarely open the windows in the house, that when my husband is home, he's looking like, what is going on with the window, right? Um, and deep breathing,
Mhm.
and that's something that, Rosalind, it can take like 3 minutes,
Yeah.
just stopping to really, we don't I don't think that we really normally take full breaths,
Mhm.
because a full breath, your chest your chest actually rises and falls with a full breath.
Yeah.
And so we don't do that throughout the day. So taking time to do that. And then my last tip, which I love, and I've been really giving it a lot of thought, is buy back some of your time. So what I'm going to say about that, and to make it sound fun, is throw money at it. Throw money at it. So what I mean by that is, we've talked in self-care about doing things like going to get your nails done, or having a massage, or maybe going out for a lunch with the girls or something like that. But there are some things around the house, I think most of us will admit, that maybe we don't enjoy doing so much. Especially now, here we are, we've been in the pandemic, and so you're in the house all of the time. You're educating the kids, you're doing work, you're cleaning. I mean, you're cooking, you're doing everything in this house. And so now the house has kind of become a stressful place, for some. So if there are some things that you really don't necessarily enjoy doing, or maybe you enjoy it, but you sure wish that you could have some help with it, like cleaning, like cooking, if you can afford it, if you're in a position to do so. And trust me, house cleaning does not cost as much as people think that it does. But maybe have someone come in and clean your house really good, top to bottom, once a month. Or maybe, if you already have a person that cleans your house, maybe those towels, asking if they would, for extra whatever, if they would fold your towels for you. We have so many towels around here. I did that. I asked, can you fold these? Can you, would you, can you consider? I mean, I look pitiful and everything, trying to get her to fold the towels. But that, or, something I have not tried, but, I do have several friends who have, and they get the meal subscriptions, like the boxes of food that comes to the house with all of the ingredients already in there with a recipe, and they say that they're doing it with their kids and how it's fun, or couples who are talking about they're exploring new meals. So I mean, that could be something. But or if you're currently mowing your yard, maybe allowing someone else to come and mow the yard once a month, or those types of things. So those are my tips.
Those all sound like great tips. And you know what they all have in common is that they release happiness endorphins. And that's really the key to feeling happy, is doing things that release those happiness endorphins. And it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be different for all of us, really, what makes you happy. But find things that make you happy. So I think for a takeaway, that would be my big takeaway. Look for things that make you happy and engage in them regularly. How about
Mm-hmm.
you, Teresa? Got a takeaway for us?
Um, my biggest takeaway really is to just protect your inner space. I call it my inner circle. So that immediate circle that is around me, I have really, really painstakingly this year focused on protecting that space. So in that space, there's boundaries. And then inside of those boundaries are all these people that I've identified that I really, really love. And so I keep those people close. So just protect your space and create an atmosphere of happiness for yourself.
Yeah. So choose to be happy, everyone. It can be done. That's all we have for this week for the Relentless Transitions podcast. You can reach us at our email at relentlesstransitions@gmail.com. Watch us on our YouTube channel, drop a few comments in there. Just let us know what you do to bring joy and happiness to your life.
Yes, and definitely also come give us some comments or some ideas about some other things that you would like to hear us talk about. Send positive vibes this way. We are definitely excited about, just going on this journey to living out the best expression of ourselves in every aspect of life.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.